Have you ever ordered something online? It's so easy now, right? You tap a few buttons on your phone and the item shows up at your door. I just bought these jeans that way. But imagine this. 25 years ago, I had to head to the local market, find the cheapest option, and try on jeans standing on a piece of cardboard, all while under the sharp gaze of a stern saleswoman. And if, back then, in 1999, I had told someone that one day you'd be able to buy jeans through your phone, they would have thought I was crazy. But around that same time, a man named Jack Ma was about to turn that crazy idea into a reality. He founded Alibaba, a company that transformed the way the world shops online. Jack didn't come from wealth or even from a tech background. He failed school exams repeatedly, was rejected from nearly every job he applied for, and even KFC refused to hire him. But instead of giving up, Jack Ma built one of the most influential companies in the world. By 2020, Alibaba had 100,000 employees, and its payment system, Alipay, had 1 billion users. Oh, and Jack Ma? He still can't write a single line of code and didn't even own a computer until he was 35. So how did he do it? How did a man with no tech skills, no business background, and seemingly no luck turn himself into a tech billionaire and global visionary? Let's take a closer look. Jack Ma was born on September 10, 1964, in Hangzhou, China, into a poor family of traditional musicians. They were far from wealthy, but they were close-knit and supportive. Jack, whose birth name was Ma Yun, was the middle of 3 children. His name, as with many in China, had meaning. Ma means horse, and Yun means cloud or luck, so you could say his name meant lucky cloud horse. But the China Jack was born into was nothing like the thriving, modern China we know today. It was a time of extreme political tension during the Cultural Revolution. Jack's family, being intellectuals, was viewed with suspicion. Though they avoided harsh persecution, they were still marginalized in a country where the Communist Party was suspicious of anyone connected to education or culture. Despite these challenges, Jack grew up in a city that would become a symbol of China's new economic future. Hangzhou in the early 1970s was where U.S. President Richard Nixon made his historic visit to China, beginning the transformation of the country from a closed communist regime into a future economic superpower. Jack grew up seeing this change and quickly realized that communication and openness were the keys to success in this new world. Jack Ma wasn't a great student. He struggled academically and was often bullied in school for being small and skinny. He had few friends, but he did have one obsession: learning English. And when Western tourists started visiting Hangzhou, Jack saw an opportunity. He began offering them free tours of the city in exchange for English lessons. Without formal training, Jack became fluent in English, and at 16, he was invited by an Australian family to visit Sydney. This trip was the first time Jack saw the world outside China, and it changed his perspective forever. Learning English, Jack said, was his greatest asset because it opened doors to understanding and connecting with other cultures. In fact, during this time, one of the tourists gave him the nickname Jack because his original name, Ma Yun, was too hard for them to pronounce. Jack liked it, and from then on, he was no longer Ma Yun, he was Jack Ma. After finishing high school, Jack tried to get into university, but after failing his entrance exams multiple times, even his parents began to lose hope. Still, Jack refused to give up. On his 3rd attempt, he finally got accepted into Hangzhou Teachers College, where he studied English. He met his future wife, Zhang Ying, there, and she became his lifelong partner and strongest supporter. After graduating, Jack worked as an English teacher, earning just $10 a month. He had dreams of doing something bigger but wasn't sure what that would be, until a fateful trip to Seattle in 1995. Jack had been invited to the U.S. as a translator for a Chinese trade delegation. While there, he saw a computer for the first time and learned about the internet. He typed beer into a search engine and found results from around the world, but nothing from China. That was Jack's light bulb moment. If no one in the West knew about Chinese products, he could change that. When Jack returned to China, he set out to build the country's first internet-based business directory called China Yellow Pages. He wanted to connect Chinese companies to the world, but almost no one believed in his idea. China's internet infrastructure was weak, and e-commerce was virtually non-existent. Still, Jack persisted. By 1999, Jack had assembled a team of 18 friends and colleagues in his apartment. Together, they founded Alibaba, with a vision to create an online marketplace for businesses. Their initial website was painfully slow. It took 3 hours to load a single page, but Jack's passion for the project was infectious. Even though he didn't know how to code, Jack knew how to inspire people and how to sell his vision. For 3 years, Alibaba struggled to make any profit. There were no buyers, no sellers, and no investors willing to take a risk on an online marketplace in China. But Jack's determination kept the team together. Many of his employees worked without pay because they believed in him and the future of the company. Jack Ma's persistence paid off when, in 2005, Yahoo co-founder Jerry Yang invested $1 billion in Alibaba, giving the company the capital it needed to scale. This partnership catapulted Alibaba into the global spotlight, allowing it to expand rapidly. By 2007, Alibaba had become the dominant e-commerce platform in China, even beating out eBay, which had tried and failed to capture the Chinese market. Alibaba's true breakthrough came in 2014 when it launched its initial public offering on the New York Stock Exchange. The IPO raised a staggering $25 billion, making it the largest in history at the time. Jack Ma had officially made it onto the world stage as one of the most influential business leaders on the planet. But Jack's meteoric rise also brought him into conflict with the Chinese government. In October 2020, Jack Ma made headlines when he publicly criticized China's state-owned banks and regulatory system, calling them outdated and comparing them to pawn shops. His comments did not go over well with the Chinese authorities, and shortly after, the much-anticipated IPO of Ant Group, Alibaba's financial arm, was abruptly halted. The IPO had been expected to raise over $37 billion, but the government's intervention stopped it just days before it was set to go public. What followed was a months-long disappearance of Jack Ma from the public eye, sparking global speculation about his fate. Was he detained? Silenced? It turned out that Jack was safe but had retreated from the spotlight. His conflict with the Chinese government sent a clear message. No matter how successful, no one is above the state. Despite his clash with the authorities, Jack Ma remains one of the most iconic entrepreneurs of our time. His journey from a poor, rejected teacher to a billionaire tech mogul is nothing short of inspirational. Jack Ma showed the world that with persistence, vision, and an unshakable belief in yourself, you can achieve the impossible.